There are some people who want to commit terrible crimes just because they want to, but some are more motivated by the financial aspect that these crimes can bring. From guys working with the mob to guys who have their own business plans and all the messed up dealings that come with such a lifestyle. On today's top 10 list, I will be covering 10 scary, real male assassins in history. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Richard Iceman Kuklinski. Richard Kuklinski got his nickname in the most gruesome way possible. He became one of America's most prolific killers after being hired by the famous Five Families in New York City. He had around a 30-year career as a contract killer, and while he only ended up being charged and convicted for 4 killings, he had claimed that the number was actually closer to 250. While we think of what an assassin would look like, he may not be at the top of the list, which may partially be what helped him be so successful. While he killed his victims in a multitude of ways, he was dubbed the Iceman due to the fact that he froze all of the bodies. This was to ensure that the coroners would be unable to determine their true time of death, which is both clever and especially evil. Richard ended up passing away in jail in 2006. In our number 9 spot today, we have Giuseppe Pino Greco. Gieseppe Greco is incredibly notorious for the role he played with the Sicilian Mafia as one of their hired killers. He played an extremely significant role in the Second Mafia War that took place in the 1980s, where he carried out dozens of killings. He is known for using his favorite weapon, which was an AK-47, which truly gives us an insight into just how gruesome his crimes really were. He was a high-ranking member of the Mafia, but he enjoyed getting his hands dirty and ended up leading what were called the Death Squad. He ended up being killed, as can be a common thing in that line of work, and his body was actually apparently dissolved in acid, which is all kinds of messed up. He ended up still being sentenced to life in prison in absentia after his passing for 58 different killings. It definitely takes a lot for them to still try you after you pass away, but I think 58 killings is probably a fair reason to do so, and remember, those are just the ones that are publicly known. In our number 8 spot today, we have Glennon Engleman. Glennon Engleman was actually a dentist, but also a contract killer, which is quite a combination, and has probably made a few people just a little more scared of the dentist. Over the course of 25 years, Glennon lived his double life, but it wasn't in the same way as a lot of the other men on this list. His first killing was in partnership with his ex-wife, of all people. She had married another man and raised his life insurance. This is when Glennon killed him, and the pair split the earnings. This is the kind of format he used for the rest of his killing career, and while there's no normal way of being a career criminal, this is certainly quite dark. He committed at least 7 of these crimes, but there is a chance there are more that we don't know about. It is also believed that there may have been a few he committed for no monetary gain at all, and it was purely for the thrill of killing. He was in jail serving 2 life sentences when he ended up passing away in 1999 at the age of 72. He was being treated for diabetes, and it is thought that his death is related to that. In our number 7 spot today, we have Abe Kid Twist Reles. Abe Reles was a hitman for Murder Inc. during the 1930s, which was an organized crime group. He is known for being one of the most heartless killers they had, which is a title no one should ever want. He was known to use an ice axe on his victims, as well as just being pretty psychopathic. Like, he attacked a worker at a car wash once for not getting a smudge on the fender of his car, or the time he killed a parking lot attendant for not getting his car fast enough. Think about the worst Karen you've ever encountered and make it 1,000,000 times worse. In the end, after being found out, he turned into a state's witness, but you know what happens to those. Of course, the night before he was supposed to deliver his evidence, he was just miraculously thrown out of a window. In our number 6 spot today, we have Vincent Mad Dog Coll. Vincent Coll was a hitman for the mob in the 1920s and early 30s. He worked primarily for the mobster Dutch Schultz, but after some disagreements, he ended up forming his own gang. He was known for being ruthless, but also for kidnapping. After forming his own gang, him and his former boss were in a long battle with each other that saw the lives of many of their men lost, including the life of Vincent's older brother. In the end, on February 8th, 1932, at 12:30 a.m., Vincent was at a telephone booth when 2 men stepped out of a limousine and opened fire with their submachine guns. This, of course, killed Vincent immediately, but the ones who did it were never caught. In our number 5 spot today, we have John Childs. John Childs is famous in the UK, but not for the best of things. John is known for doing some pretty gruesome things to his victims, but the most insane part is that none of their bodies or the weapons he used have ever been found. He also was able to implicate 2 separate accomplices for his crimes, who both ended up serving more than 20 years in jail for the crimes that he committed. So it's clear he truly wasn't the best man around. He ended up confessing to his crimes and has been sentenced to life imprisonment. In our number 4 spot today, we have Fred Burke. Fred Burke was a man who actually worked for Al Capone. He is known for his role in the Miraflores massacre that took place in Detroit in 1927, but he's probably better known for his role in the Valentine's Day massacre of 1929. This was when he and some other associates lured some gang members of the Moran gang into a garage, where they then dressed up as police officers and ended up killing these gang members. After this extremely gruesome day, he carried on with his career of committing robberies and the occasional killing, but he made a terrible mistake. In December of 1929, he was a little intoxicated and very paranoid one night when he got into a small traffic accident. A patrolman named Charles Skelly showed up to the scene, and this is when Fred ended up shooting and killing him for essentially no reason at all. This started a huge manhunt, and he got away for a little while, but in March of 1931, a resident in his new town recognized him and ended up calling in a tip. This led to his arrest and subsequent life sentence. He ended up passing away from a heart attack on July 10th, 1940. In our number 3 spot today, we have Christopher Dale Flannery. Christopher Dale Flannery was better known as Mr. Rent-A-Kill, which is horrifying. He was Australia's most notorious hitman. He started out working as a club bouncer, but was bored by that job, so he moved into contract killing, which isn't necessarily the usual progression of those things. Authorities have said that his first killing was that of the barrister Roger Anthony Wilson, and there are some pretty scary details surrounding that, which I will not go into today. In 1985, there was an attack on his house and family that miraculously left them all with only minor injuries. Not too long after this attack, Christopher received a call for a meeting. He went to start his car, but was unable to do so. The person he was meeting with then told him to take a taxi, which he did. Once Christopher got into this taxi, however, he was never seen again. He was of course presumed dead after his disappearance, but we really never have found out what exactly happened to him. In our number 2 spot today, we have Alexander Solonik. Alexander Solonik was known as Alexander the Great, but I'm not sure if great is the word I would use to describe him. He was a Russian gangster who was a pretty notorious hitman for the Russian criminal world, which sounds like the scariest place on earth. He started out as a member of the Soviet army, but he was kicked out quickly for his violence towards suspects. He actually ended up in prison for some of the things he did. After 2 years, he ended up escaping, and this is when his contract killer career started. After a few years of living his life, he was apprehended by the police. Once at the station, he revealed a small automatic weapon that they had failed to find on him, and he opened fire on the officers. He ran outside where he hit 2 more officers, but he ended up cornered and hit by a shot himself. After being jailed for the 2nd time, he ended up escaping from prison again, and this time he disappeared. He was later found in Greece with a fake passport, and it was here where he started his own little gang of around 50 men, which were of course involved in shady activities. In 1997, however, his body was found just outside of Athens, and this time the tables had turned and he was someone else's victim. Authorities found evidence that he had been hired to carry out a hit in Italy before his death, and these 2 things just may have been correlated. In our number 1 spot today, we have Bernard Hunwick. Bernard Hunwick was nicknamed Barry the Bear and is one of the most infamous hitmen from the 80s and 90s. He apparently has committed somewhere close to 300 killings, which is an absolutely horrendous amount. He apparently led a group of 6 who were known for killing drug smugglers and the people they worked with in exchange for cash, of course. Despite his extensive list of crimes, he was only ever charged with 1 killing, which was that of smuggler and bail bondsman Richard Diego Messina. He ended up being found when an accomplice of his turned into an informant, and he was caught planning the killing of an undercover FBI agent who was posing as a drug dealer. He was sentenced in 1999 to 2 life sentences after after pleading no contest, and he ended up passing away in jail so recently on January 2nd of 2013 when he was 67 years old. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out. Let me know in the comments below which one of these guys you thought was the scariest. I can't even choose. They're all terrifying to me. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I'll see you next time. Bye!